Now, good evening and welcome to the smoking section. My name is Emily Ouija and this is Steve Helfer. And tonight we have a very special guest joining us once again via Skype, the eminent UK blogger Frank Davis, who has also actually been called a renowned philosopher recently.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
Nice.
I have to mention, you might hear this already, we're having some slight feedback issues with Skype, which we haven't been able to pinpoint. So I apologize for that, but we just want to go on with the interview. I'm sure we'll all become so engrossed with speaking with Frank that we'll learn to ignore it after a few minutes. Welcome, Frank. It's so good to have you in the studio. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
Thank you very much.
So yeah, it's unfortunate about the feedback, but let's just style it out.
Yeah.
So Frank, I noticed I think you post on your blog pretty much every day, so I feel like every day there's something new to talk about with you. But I think today you had a pretty interesting post on your blog about creating an army of smokers.
Yeah, well, it was in anticipation of a question that I thought Stephen might ask me.
Oh, well, you're very, very good. Yes.
And I was thinking about it yesterday, and I was thinking, well, the question I thought he might ask me was, how do you what? I can't remember what it was now. How do you engage smokers, and how do you get them politically active? Something along those lines.
That's it. That's it precisely, Frank.
And what I was thinking yesterday was that the first thing you have to do is get smokers together into a group of some sort. They have to become a united entity, and an army is one way of describing that. And but I thought that was the first thing that needed to be done. And organisation and engagement comes second, in my view.
So, Stephen, what do you think about that? Because I think you're often concerned that when we focus too much on just bringing smokers together just to kind of talk, shoot the breeze, do you feel that takes away from political organization?
I think, and it's not I only who think this, that in some ways the internet actually drains some vitality from political movements. Yes, indeed.
Okay. What do you think about that, Frank?
I don't agree actually at all. I think the internet is a sine qua non for what we're doing. I mean, it's what we're using right now.
No, I'm not saying it has no place, but I remember, for example, when the Arab Spring happened, there were these signs in Tunisia, Facebook, thank you. And I said to myself, oh wow, I mean, this is something that could help us in the smoking advocacy.
Wait, what did they mean? They were thanking Facebook for somehow supporting their cause, or?
No, because I presume that Facebook allowed them to organize, or to become an army, or to speak with one another, and they could do that without the censorship of the state.
Yes, I think that's what happened.
But the problem is, if people only use their energy and use their time commenting to one another, are decrying one act of the anti-smoking movement after another, that cannot substitute for on-the-ground action.
Well, yes, you're right, but I think it's imperative that talking and griping and wondering and so forth comes first. It's only when you've got the people together that you can get them to do something.
Well, I mean, listen, Frank, I've been in this field of advocacy for smokers' rights for about 20 years, and you know, the talk is nice, and it's sometimes very illuminating, but how, it's got to have another, it's got to get there. This is 20 years now that people have been talking, and there are all kinds of political groups, and if, they're advocating all sorts of stuff, but if they only stay on the internet, and then it comes to naught, in my opinion.
I understand your frustration, Stephen, I think in some ways, because I think you're thinking of people who are being, I think, what do they call them, internet activists, kind of derisively, because the only thing they do in terms of activism is online. But I think that's different than what Frank is talking about.
Yes, it is. It's what I want. What I was writing about today was bringing people together from all over the world, because there's an awful lot of us smokers out there, and the internet is the only way to connect them.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I think we're at a point right now where, we really just need to bring more people together in the movement, and I think that the internet is really the only way we're going to connect people right now. Looking at even where we live, we don't meet that many new people.
No, unfortunately
to bring into
not.
our cause. So.
We don't meet them. It's very hard. It's very hard to get. Well, it's very hard to get people to really do anything on a political, of a political nature. I think one of the Greek philosophers or somebody said that you can only expect about 20% or less of the population to be really interested in an active way in politics, period.
Yeah. That seems high to me.
20%. I can't remember what it was, but so this goes way back thousands of years. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think this is a new phenomenon where the majority of people don't engage in politics.
Well, it might even come down to the basic question of is what we're talking about politics. I really feel that this whole issue of smokers, it encompasses so much more than just politics. Would you agree with that, Frank?
Yes, I would. I think it's. I wasn't at all politically active in any way. My brother was telling me recently that he regarded me as apolitical most of my life, and I was. But with the smoking ban, bang, the whole thing started to matter, and I've become very political since then. And I've actually got involved in doing things, like going to the Stony Stratford demonstration in England, and I continue to be in my way.
Well, I'm not saying at all that interfacing with one another on Facebook, etc., isn't absolutely necessary, because I think it is, and it's what is particularly helpful is when you have people like I think like Rose, for example. You've seen Rose's comments. She sometimes gets into the real, science and the history of the science of how this whole thing kind of came about, and that's very helpful that people have a philosophical and a historical underpinning of what's going on.
Yep.
Yes, well, Rose, there's lots of people. Someone who I was thinking about earlier today was the guy in Australia who wrote the anti-smoking signifies grave danger. Forgotten his name now, but...
yeah, I've seen that. So he wrote a book, I think, did he not?
I think so, yeah.
I can't remember his name.
It's something like Del Piero or something.
Well, the thing that Emily and I were thinking about, and and we haven't really tried it, but we haven't. It seems that a lot of people who are interested, as you and I and Emily are, tend to be a bit on the side like mavericks, and they want to have their own Facebook page, and they want to do their own thing, and they're not inclined to be joiners.
Well, that's me.
Yeah.
Well,
Me too, I guess.
have you ever read the book, or who is the person who wrote the book Rules for Radicals?
I forget.
Solinsky.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Well, I mean, I read that book recently, and there's nothing terribly arcane in it. It's all very simple, straightforward types of suggestions for those who would like to take political action. One of the ones that I think is the most important that Alinsky talks about is whatever group you have, you want people to think it's bigger than it actually is.
Well, that's an interesting question for Frank then. Do you think there's any ways that we can give the illusion that we have a bigger army of smokers than we already have currently, or is there any purpose to that at this point?
Well, I don't know how big the army is, but I mean, it's growing.
Yeah.
You know, I think the point is to keep it growing, to get more people involved. I think this happens anyway because people. I think people become sort of engaged in all this when they get damaged themselves in some profound way, because that's what happened to me. Smoking bans have been profoundly damaging for me, and so I don't know about pretending that it's bigger than it is. It'll be just as big as it actually is. I don't know how we're perceived anyway. I know that I get monitored by tobacco control.
That's a good sign.
Okay. I was
That's a
actually
very
I
good
was
sign.
trying to find the entry on you on I forget what website it was. I couldn't find
So
it.
it's tobacco tactics.
Oh, tobacco tactics. Okay. I think next time you're on the show, I'll have to bring that up on the screen.
Yeah, Michael McFadden has gotten a lot of attention from them.
Yeah, there's a few of us. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, it's quite an honor. Isn't
Yes,
it?
I wish I had reached that level.
You're not quite
I don't
there
think
yet.
so. I don't think so. Well, Frank, here is my idea, okay? This is a concrete idea.
Oh, you actually have something.
Well, I was going to post something on the blog, on your blog today, but I don't know. I think I must have forgotten to put a colon because it kept asking me for a bona fide URL, and I just couldn't get it on. But I think, and Saul Alinsky talks about this. I mean, there are things that you can do with activists or would-be activists that kind of provide them self-encouragement and
self-encouragement.
Self-encouragement. In other words, to inspire, to so that we don't lose our enthusiasm.
Is this like positive reinforcement?
That's the kind of thing, and part of it is I think Alinsky talks about concrete actions, and I mean, one thing I was thinking about, and that I've been thinking about a long time, is that we have a very limited number of people who are really committed. Michael McFadden, Audrey Silk, a woman who works with Audrey Silk, you, Emily, me. If we could somehow organize a group, I mean, let's say, it might only be 12 people to begin with, but it would be like a communist cell. Do you know, in the United States, they used to talk about communist cell, these small groups of people
I don't know about this.
who would, work in a very, very coordinated way.
I see what you're talking about.
So, for example, we would all, send an email to the same site or sign the same petition. I mean, it wouldn't be overwhelmingly positive, but it would at least we would know that it would not just be me. If I send an email in, that it would be me, you, so that way we'd be working together, because if you're sending an email to this and Emily's sending an email to that and I'm calling this person and Audrey's calling that person, we don't get a mass, a tipping point, or we're not going to get a tipping point. We don't get any kind of real volume. What do you think about that? Well,
I think that's happening anyway. If for example, I on my blog, I come across some poll somewhere which somebody draws my attention to. I can bring that up and sort of ask my readers to respond to the poll, and they will. And it won't be just 12 people; it'll be 100 or something like that. So that's happening, but it's not organised in the sense of we all decide to do it. I tend in my blog to suggest to people what they might do, because I don't like to tell people.
Yeah.
I don't think that's my job. I think I should just, they're all individual people with their own minds, and they can make up their own minds whether they want to do this or not.
Yeah, and honestly, I personally just have a problem with, joining organizations, because I don't think I've ever wanted to join an organization that has a manifesto, and then I then feel that I'm, tied to that, or that someone's going to tell me what to do.
Right.
And I think as you said, in a way we are all mavericks, but I think that a lot of smokers do tend to be quite independent-minded, in a sense.
Well, I think anybody who smokes in this day and age has to have a streak of independent
It's true.
thinking.
Yeah, it's true.
A long streak.
But, and here's the but. The but is, Audrey, for years, will suggest that people do this or suggest that people do that, and I don't know how many people are doing it. I don't think, it would be nice to know that if, let's say Audrey made a suggestion, or you made a suggestion, or I made a suggestion, or Emily did, that we as a group, even a very small group, would not just take it as a suggestion, but take it as as something that would be imperative.
I don't know.
Maybe not life and death imperative, but for example, I go to our Facebook page, and Emily posts, a couple of days ago, there's an outdoor smoking ban being proposed in Providence, and I'm saying, oh, you should all do something about that, and then the next day it's something in Pennsylvania, so before I can even do anything about Providence, it's Pennsylvania, and then there's something else, and,
But I think if the point is mobilizing smokers, which is really what we're trying to do with our Facebook page too, we're not necessarily saying, go out and do this all the time. We're just trying to raise the sentiment. I think we're trying to reach a tipping point with people's emotions.
We don't need such a big tipping point. We can use a small tipping point. Is it, we're trying to, it's one thing, like for example, I've often said to myself, well, I'm going to ask people to email or do this or that. Mm-hmm. But before I do it, I try to make myself do it first. Mm-hmm. Because very often, I'll make a suggestion, or I have, and then I don't even follow through it on myself.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, well, I think with someone like sort of Audrey Silk, Audrey Silk's got her own sort of set of things that she does, like demonstrating by smoking in some place or other, and she seems to be very much involved in confronting the enemy. Whereas what I think I want to do more and more is unite smokers, bring them together, because to me it seems like there's too many people who are sort of individually doing their own thing, fighting the enemy in one way or other, and there's quite a few of them, but they're all, there's too few of them. That's why I was writing about building an army today.
Yeah.
And I think that's the first thing you have to do, is to get people together. It doesn't really matter in what way, but...
Right, and so I don't think that you two are really disagreeing. I think that Frank maybe is talking more about getting us to a certain point of having, bringing more smokers together. Then you're talking about what you might like to do with those
First of all, I would agree, but in two things I would say are somewhat different. One is that I don't think you need an army. I mean, it's nice to have an army.
Huh.
But for example, John Bansoff, he founded, I don't know, Americans for Non-Smokers' Rights, or one of those organizations. He's a professor at George Washington University. I mean, he has this whole organization. He's basically one person, and he's had a tremendous effect, actually, in the anti-smoking movement.
Yes, I can understand that, but I think that armies are good things. I think the more people who get involved,
Well, Frank,
the better. Yeah, it would be nice to create, but again, you're talking about creating an illusion.
well, no, not necessarily.
The illusion that there are lots and lots and lots of us when, you know, there aren't. So the numbers
That's
are
how the
growing.
anti-smoking movement has come so far. They've created this illusion. They've, with very, very few activists. I mean, now they have lots, but 25 years ago they didn't. But these activists worked together and created this illusion.
And they're all paid. They're all paid.
Well, I don't know. I don't think John Bansoff, and I don't think C. Everett Koop, and I don't think David Kessler of the FDA, and they are very committed, very, very committed to their cause. I don't think they're doing it for money.
Well, I will argue though that I do think that they had a certain, my favorite word, zeitgeist on their side. That yes, in the beginning a lot of them were working in very, just a few of them very isolated. But I do think that for whatever reason they were fortunate in having, the tide of history.
Luck on their side?
Luck on their side. That people were willing to go along with them at a certain point.
Well, everybody needs luck.
Yeah. So maybe our luck is, our ship is
Well,
about
and also, Frank, let me, do you think it's possible that if we had this organized cadre of, let's say, 24 people, let's say, who really work together, and didn't take these things as suggestions, but said, well, I'm part of this, and I'm gonna do it. I mean, unless for some reason you disagree with it. And do you think that might be helpful in building an army?
It might, yes, it might, because there would be an example. There'd be the shock battalion or something like that.
That's right.
And people might want to join. I can see how that could work, but I don't know. What I was thinking about yesterday was more just getting people together and more or less agreeing with each other. What they actually went and did, I wasn't really concerned about.
Right, and I mean, I think how amazing that, even that we're just talking right now, the three of us, it's amazing because this is something that we really haven't done a lot of, at least I haven't. Just being able to toss these ideas out there is a fantastic thing.
Yes, I think so. I agree, Emily. Well, I mean, you and Emily have this idea of a lot of Skype interviews, and that sounds very
That's right.
hopeful to me.
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, Frank, right now? We have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get hold of Gary Kaiser tomorrow to have a chat with him. I'm going to ask him about how smoking bans affected him and his and people he knew, and that's one of the things I want to do, is just get smokers to tell what their experience was, because it's not out there. It's not reported in the media at all.
And I don't think they even tell themselves. I don't think they know themselves, many smokers. They don't admit to themselves what it feels like to be a stigmatized person.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, but I think there are people, and there's certainly quite a few of my commenters are totally able to do that. So that's one of the things that I want to do. I think the other thing I just thought of today was to tell how it used to be with smoking 50 years ago or something like that, because I can remember that.
That sounds like a great idea.
you know, that you know, sort of lots of people smoked everywhere, except in churches.
In church you had incense, so you didn't need to smoke.
That sounds like a great idea. Frank, we're almost out of time, and I want to put up your website card, so I'm just going to minimize your screen for a second, and I'm going to put up your card, just so everyone can see. You can find Frank, as always, at cfrankdavis.wordpress.com. Absolutely incredible blog. I highly recommend it if you haven't checked it out. And then Frank posts almost every day, and it's just an amazing blog. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night, Frank.
Night.
Good night, and anytime you want me on.
Great. Hold on.